Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Wednesday, March 15th, Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith is back. The internet's fixed. Everything's working again. And Alex is back on the Ice Guys show with us on this Wednesday. 4 games tonight in the NHL. Fresh off another entertaining, fun, profitable betcast last night. It was nice to come out a bit ahead last night. So great betcast. We thank everybody for joining us. A lot of the usual cast of characters were on the betcast stream with us, and we appreciate it. Everybody that tuned in, thank you as well. A lot of fun once again, and a huge Tuesday card. And of course, we're back at it next Tuesday. Once again, March 21st. We can already announce that. The next betcast next Tuesday, March 21st, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you missed it last night, next Tuesday, make sure you don't miss it. And join us again for another Ice Guys live betcast. Last night was a huge, busy night. And the theme for me, the biggest, I guess, observation and takeaway from the Tuesday slate would be the underdogs barking in the NHL in a few instances last night. The Montreal Canadiens on a back-to-back after getting their butts handed to them by the Colorado Avalanche. And they roar back against Pittsburgh and beat them 6-4 as plus 300 underdogs in the Berg. Very, very impressive by the Canadians, and not a good loss, obviously, if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins. But Penguins caught in a little bit of a very, very nasty little sandwich, if you ask me, because that Montreal game in between 3 encounters with the Rangers, the game on Sunday, and then they have back-to-back with the Rangers coming up. So maybe a little flat spot, but nevertheless, not a game you should lose if you're Pittsburgh, but lose they did. 6-4 to Montreal last night. Let's give Tampa credit. Haven't been playing well, but much better out of the Lightning last night. 4-1. They take care of business against the New Jersey Devils. Not the greatest of nights defensively for the Devils. A couple breakdowns. Letting a player just go all the way to the front of the net and score is not what you want to do right down Main Street. And Vanacek's had better nights as well. But Tampa, give them credit, 4-1, a response from them after some shoddy play of late. Carolina bounces back after back-to-back shutout losses. They beat Winnipeg 5-3. Nino Niederreiter props cash for us again there. Vegas 5-3 win over Philadelphia. Another good effort from the Flyers. Like they're trying, but they just can't overcome the lack of personnel that they have compared to their opponent, and they lose 5-3 to the Golden Knights. Rangers down the Ovechkin-less Capitals 5-3. Of course, he was a late absence, and the Rangers, and I was on the regulation and the team total split there with the Rangers, the over 3.5 in the regulation. Both of them get there in a 5-3 win over the Capitals. Nashville with a 2-1 win over Detroit. Pretty blah hockey game there. The Predators find a way, even in a tough spot off a road trip, to get it done. Edmonton 6-3 over Ottawa. Ottawa's going to not want to think about this Western Canadian road trip. Once they get home, they want to forget that ever happened. It was a disaster for the Ottawa Senators and a huge, huge, huge blow to their playoff hopes, not getting a single point out of those 3 games against Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. And now the Senators have a lot of work to do if they hope to get back into the playoff race in the Eastern Conference, the wild card race, as they are still several points behind. Vancouver, 5 wins in a row for them. They beat the red-hot Dallas Stars 5-2 last night. Very, very impressive again. And Rick Tocchet has this team going better defensively. It helps having Thatcher Demko certainly back in net. And they are scoring goals, and Kuzmenko's been just an absolute machine for the Canucks. He had another nice night for them, and they beat the Stars 5-2. Columbus in a very entertaining game for 2 teams playing for exercise, but that's what I was hoping for. We saw a lot of goals. I like the over there, 6-5, Columbus in overtime. 5 points for Johnny Gaudreau. Where was that when it mattered earlier this season? But that's another story. LA 5-2 over the New York Islanders. I was on the Kings there. Nice bounce back spot after a loss to Nashville the other night. Kings playing really good hockey. Like I said, don't worry about that Nashville loss. Bit of a tough spot for them. They'll be fine. And sure enough, they bounce back. Another really rock solid game from Korpisalo too, who's looking very good in net for his new team. And we saved a couple shockers. Another one was Arizona 4-3 against Calgary in overtime. I'm not as shocked about that. Calgary just, that they keep teams hanging in games. They don't put the puck in the net enough. Another huge shot output for the Flames and not enough offense to go with it. Again, shooting the puck into the crest and into the chest of Ingram much of that game, which we were laughing about throughout the betcast last night. It's wash, rinse, repeat with them. It's no, pick a corner for crying out loud. Like, try to make a deke move on the goaltender. You don't just have to shoot right at the chest every time. And Arizona gets the win there. And I cash a huge ticket on the draw there, plus 412 last night in that Flames-Coyotes game. And we'll end it, Alex, with your Blackhawks. I mean, I don't know if they should be winning games, but they are from time to time. And 6-3, the win over the Boston Bruins, another huge underdog casher at plus 365 in some spots with the Blackhawks last night. I'm mad I didn't do the split because I only bet the draw. A lot of these games have been going dog and draw split, and I didn't do that. And I'm pissed off that I didn't do that. But I thought it would go to a draw at least. It did not happen. But Chicago with the 6-3 win. And I'm saying Taylor, Radish moving forward. Bet those props. He's the guy that's stirring the drink offensively right now for the Chicago Blackhawks in the wake of no Domi, no Kane post-trade deadline. He has stepped it up. His props got there last night. Keep on riding those in Chicago games. And I posed the question on Twitter. We talked about it, Alex, on the betcast last night. Has the full-on late-season malaise set in for the Boston Bruins? Here they are. Nobody's catching them. They're all alone in first in the Atlantic. They're all alone going to win the number 1 overall seed in the East and the President's Trophy. You are starting to see this team kind of like have that. They don't have that next gear to get themselves psyched up, I think, at the moment. That's what I'm seeing from this Boston Bruins team. And it's team-wide. It's even affected Allmark, who I don't think had his best game last night either, the presumed Vezina Trophy winner. It's team-wide. It's a malaise. It's we're playing these games in body, but I don't know about in spirit, in all-out 100% focus, 100% effort, intensity, performance. That's another thing. You don't get 100% performance when you're not totally invested in that particular game. And I think we're seeing signs of that. So like we said on the betcast last night, Alex, this is not a bad time to considering picking your spots and finding a few ways to fade this Bruins team here in the remaining games of the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kicking myself yesterday. I didn't grab the dog price with the Hawks either because I said it on Monday's show that, these are some dangerous spots. Boston can lay back and cruise. They pretty much have the division and the President's Trophy in hand, and that's something you don't get to say. Even if you were, okay, fine, they have the division wrapped up, but, maybe they want to go for the President's Trophy. They still would want to play hard in a few more games. I mean, they're coasting right now. And the thing is, it's fine. They're going to lose some games as long as everybody stays healthy. This is not the end of the world. So, Bruins fans don't go screaming on the radio and everything else, freaking out, but the thing is, I want to see some giddy up from them in the last few games of the year, not from the top guys. Obviously, scratch Pasternak and Bergeron and Marchand, don't even have them dressed, but I want to see some real fire and energy from those call-ups and those different guys, because if you're having this malaise now, you don't want this to carry all the way through for another month. Like a month from now, we're talking about the season ending. So that's the thing. It's like, all right, a few bad games here or there is fine, but you just have to make sure that you can get it up and ready before the postseason starts, because you don't want to have that lull go in and then all of a sudden you play a little sloppy the first period of game one. You end up losing game one in overtime. Next thing you know, you got this Tampa Bay situation all again. So it's not a bad look for them from a game standpoint. From a betting standpoint, you shouldn't be looking at anything Boston as far as a side regulation or anything like that. I wouldn't even touch a draw with the Bruins right now. This is just a real stay away team, because you don't know where the motivation is going to come from a night-to-night basis. Now, you probably think, okay, well, they got blown out 6-3. Maybe we look at them first period puck line in the next game. Maybe not. They don't have to just get geared up because they got doubled up against a bad Hawks team. They have their own agenda right now, and it's not necessarily playing as hard as they need to on the ice at this moment. So be very careful. These big dogs are barking for a good reason, because these top tier teams that are pulling away, and we're starting to see some more pull away in the West. I think in the next few weeks, I think the West is probably going to be wrapped up more quicker than the East as far as like wild card and things like that. So just be careful with these teams once they clinch their division. We talk about this too. The game after they clinch a playoff spot, the game after they clinch a division spot, those are great spots to bet against those teams, because they go out, maybe have a few pops, like say scratch a couple guys who are banged up, and then all of a sudden they lose 5-1 to Anaheim. So just be careful.
And that's especially true in not just hockey, basketball, baseball, all those sports that play those 82 game seasons. Obviously baseball 162, but in all those sports, definitely the clinching after winning a division, winning a division, clinching a playoff spot, that kind of thing. That is a real angle that you could usually capitalize on. So there's no question about that. Let's see how we can capitalize now on a Wednesday slate with 4 games on it. Not obviously a huge slate, but there are some interesting games here on this slate. And one of them is our first game with the Buffalo Sabres and the Washington Capitals. Washington minus 115, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. First thought that comes to mind is Ovechkin. Will he play? Obviously, late scratch last night for the Washington Capitals. Currently, game time decision tonight against the Sabres. Lower body injury. And a guy that's, even though he's been playing through that, he's had 4 goals, 4 assists his last 7 games. Connor Sheary, by the way, was the guy that filled that top line spot last night without Ovechkin. So we'll see if he maintains that spot tonight, if Ovechkin is a no-go once again. But again, he'll be a game time decision for tonight's game. Buffalo in the Sabres, of course, coming off a game where on Monday night they came back from an early deficit against the Toronto Maple Leafs to get the 4-3 win over Toronto on Monday night. Much needed win. You talk about a stop the bleeding win that was desperately needed. That certainly was the case for the Buffalo Sabres, who, I wouldn't say they're out of the playoff mix because they are still games in hand for them on other teams that they're battling with, but they can't keep losing and going down the downward trajectory they were. So getting that victory against a pretty good Toronto team should be, a little bit of a boost for them going into this game tonight. You're looking at a Buffalo Sabres team that's battling for a playoff spot right now. I'm going to back the Sabres again. I like this. I like how this goes from 2 different angles here. First of all, Buffalo, we just saw them beat Washington and Buffalo recently, so we know they can beat this team. That's number 1. And number 2, after a losing streak and you finally win, I think it's a kick in the other direction to say, let's go, boys. I mean, if we're going to make the playoffs, this is when we got to make our push. And I think Washington's vulnerable. I've not liked the hockey we've seen from this Capitals team for the last, I would say, week or 2. It's been up and down. It's been erratic. And keep in mind, it's also been a very weak schedule lately for the Capitals, too. They played a lot of Sharks, a lot of Ducks, a lot of weak-ass teams as of late here on their schedule. And now tonight they play a very urgent Buffalo team, and they got the rest advantage as well, the Sabres, with Washington on back-to-back after being in New York against the Rangers last night and not playing all that well, losing 5-3 in that game to the Rangers. So I like it for the Sabres here. And by the way, the Capitals as well, Alex, they don't have a good back-to-back record this year. On second night of back-to-back, 1-7 for the Washington Capitals this year on the second night of back-to-back games. So I'm on Buffalo here minus 105 in this game. I'm also going to take the over smaller. I like the Buffalo side. It's a bigger bet for me than the total, but I'm going to jump in on the over too. We can expect likely Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the Sabres in net after it was Anderson the last game. Anderson rarely gets 2 games in a row, so I would definitely expect it to be UPL for the Sabres and probably Charlie Lindgren for the Washington Capitals after we saw Kemper last night for the Capitals against the Rangers. What do you think here, Alex? Buffalo, Washington.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is it's a game. I sprinkled it on the draw this morning because it's just something you have to look at with the wild card bunch in the East, especially 2 teams that are literally neck and neck. And I kind of lends me to look at the under 6.5 as well. And my theory on that is this: I don't think we're going to see a ton of goals early, but I also think that if we see a tie game in the third period, this could really just come to a snail's pace. No team is going to risk giving up 2 points and coming away with nothing when they're literally neck and neck in the race for the wild card spot. So this game could just come to a standstill if it's tied in the third period. And I'm saying early in the third. Like, this might be one of those games where we talk about with the next to score props live. If it's tied 2-2 heading into the third period, you could probably take a shot at a plus 400, 500 on no goal the rest of regulation. Like, I have that kind of feeling out of this game. And Buffalo, we've seen them just kind of be up and down this last week, right? We saw them get crushed, give up 10 goals against Dallas. Then we saw Craig Anderson leaving the 4 p.m. pot roast dinner to go shut down, the Toronto Maple Leafs once again. This guy's record against Toronto has been incredible. I'm sure Buffalo wish they could play Toronto all the time nowadays, but Now we got to see, like I said, UPL. Can he step up in a big game? This is a huge game for them if they want to be a playoff team and make it to walkout. These are the moments where they have to really assess him and say, hey, all right, if he's going to be our number one guy next year and beyond, he's got to get us a win here tonight. And I think he can do that. And Washington, like I said, rough on the second of back-to-backs, horrible without Ovechkin, 0-6 so far this year in the 6 games he's missed. So I'm on the draw, but if we do get the full confirmation that Ovechkin's out, I will definitely be on Buffalo.
All right, there we go. And yeah, you're right. Without Ovechkin, they have struggled. We know the when he was away grieving the loss of his father, Mikhail, definitely you saw that that team just didn't play well at all, honestly, without him. And it was really surprising to see that because they've still got some pieces and some talent, but they just were lacking a lot without their leader, their captain, Alexander Ovechkin. In this going into that hiatus that he had, and they just didn't play well with him being out. There are some props that I do like. Yes, we haven't forgotten about the prop market here for this game, but definitely, yeah, Dylan Cousins. I was on a goal prop and a point prop for him against the Leafs. He ended up finding the back of the net in that game. I was happy to see that. I'd come back to it here. He's undervalued. He's playing well. He's getting the opportunities. He's only minus 110 to get a point. The overshots on goal I like as well. Yeah, over 2.5 at plus 120 at Unibet for Cousins, over 2.5 shots on goal. That I like as well. The goal prop, as I mentioned, anything Dylan Cousins, I sign off on that. Dylan Strome is on a nice point streak right now for the Washington Capitals, and he's only minus 130 tonight to get a point. You know, I like riding the point streaks. Dylan Cousins for the Caps, points in 5 straight games, and he's only minus 130 here to get a point tonight. Definitely good value. TJ Oshie, especially if Ovechkin's a no-go, he's been the one guy to step up without Ovechkin on the ice, and he's minus 122 to get a point. So Oshie prop definitely interests me in this game, even as someone that likes Buffalo. Like I said, if you like the money line side for one team, doesn't mean you can't bet player props on the other side. So still got to put some Washington props in there. Skinner has a point for the Sabres in 3 straight games for them going into this matchup tonight. He's played very well. I think his point prop's a little bit pricier, minus 160. So you can bet that standalone if you want, but you may want to put that in some kind of prop or same game parlay in this game if you're going to bet Skinner to get a point here in this one. So those are definitely some of the main props here in this game. Maybe Jack Quinn as well. Jack Quinn, a streaky goal scorer. He found the back of the net against Toronto on Monday night, plus 330 in some books to score a goal tonight. So not a bad option. Yeah, Rasmus Sandin, Rich, we've talked about him ad nauseum here for the Washington Capitals. He's getting more power play time. He's only minus 114 to get minus 116, I should say, to get a point at FanDuel. For the Caps, Rasmus Sandin to get an assist, plus 125. Power play point, plus 325. You could even sprinkle on that because he is the number 1 power play quarterback now, essentially, especially with Carlson still injured and out for the Capitals on the blue line. So, yeah, you keep riding with that. Rasmus Sandin, the opportunity he was not getting in Toronto because of the overload of defensemen they had on that team. He's getting that opportunity now with the Capitals, and he's making the most of it. He's got 4 points in the last 2 games, all of them assists. 4 assists, 4 points for Sandin in the last 2 games for Washington. So, yeah, definitely back to the well, I say, with Sandin props. Worth a look. All right, Colorado, Toronto. We've got the Leafs minus 140, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. So Toronto off that loss to Buffalo, right? We kind of could have seen it coming from a mile away. You're playing Edmonton Saturday night, huge game, big win, great win. Played very well in that game, exciting hockey game. And then you go Monday night against Buffalo, kind of struggling, sterile environment. Crowd sounded like a morgue again. Your wine and cheese crowd was out in full force again Monday night at the Scotiabank Arena, and there was no noise. There was no intensity from the crowd or energy from the crowd. And as later that game went on, it filtered down to the players. And Leafs did have a good start, but you know, that complacency sets in. You get off to that quick 2-0 lead early second period, and then you kind of think it's going to be easy street. Doesn't work that way. Buffalo comes back. They show that sense of urgency, that desperation, a team trying to make the playoffs, and they come back and they beat the Leafs 4-3. This is your classic Leaf spot here to come back and win. This is what they often do. They do bring their best. They raise their game against the best. They have often done that, this Toronto team. So I get it totally why they're minus 140 favorites here in this game. I haven't bet Toronto, and I probably won't, but I'm not stepping in their way tonight. And if you look at the Colorado side of things, the injuries are mounting for this team again, which is very concerning. Lehkonen being the big one, very unfortunate. He had a huge night. He cashed props for me against Montreal, his former team. He scored. He got on the score sheet with a terrific performance. 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. Very, very happy to cash those props. And sure enough, later in that same game, Monday night against the Habs, unfortunately for him, broken finger injury for Lehkonen, out 4 to 6 weeks. And right now, they're saying this might even linger into the start of the playoffs, that he might miss time for Colorado. So very unfortunate, because he's got that good chemistry going with Rantanen and McKinnon. And now there's going to have to be shuffling. But Evan Rodriguez will take that spot. So from a prop standpoint, we kind of talked about this on Monday's show. Rodriguez is going to be that guy that you look at his props now. He's that left wing top line player now with McKinnon and Rantanen, which means now you have definitely prop value on him going into this game tonight. So Rodriguez to get a goal and point, I think you got to sprinkle on it and put something on it just based on the value alone that you're going to get now that he's put in that spot. Again, you're talking about to get a goal at plus 390 at FanDuel. Like, this is a top line player now with McKinnon and Rantanen, and he's plus 390 at FanDuel to score a goal, and he's only plus 108 at Cool Bet, plus 100 at the Score Bet, minus 102 at Pinnacle to get a point. Evan Rodriguez tonight for Colorado. I mean, how do you pass up that kind of value for a guy on the top line with 2 phenomenal hockey players alongside in Rantanen and McKinnon? It's very, very hard to pass up that value on Evan Rodriguez props tonight. Someone mentioned Dennis Malgin. Yeah, I can't figure out how he's on this red-hot streak that he is, but he has got his offense going. I mean, I think Toronto would have liked to have seen a little bit more of this, and he's playing his old team as well. Let's not forget that. Returning to Toronto, facing the Leafs, Dennis Malgin. Here's a guy that has scored 3 goals in the last 5 games for the Colorado Avalanche. So, sprinkle on a plus 650 at FanDuel for him to score a goal tonight against his former team. So there you go, plus 650. Hey, we've seen this shit happen repeatedly in this league and in this sport. Player that goes back to face his former team always wants to have a good game, and he's certainly very capable of that here. And again, plus 650 is just an incredible price. That's at FanDuel, and even at the other books, you're seeing 550 at MGM and PointsBet and DraftKings. So still, the price is phenomenal on that. And he's on the second line as well, playing with Big Val Nichushkin, as well as, who else? JT Compher, who's now up on that second line center spot for the Avs. And that's another reason that Compher, in terms of not only the goal prop, but, the points prop is intriguing now. He's back to that second line spot. He's also going to get power play minutes. We're looking at him on the number 1 power play unit. Compher, Rantanen, Rodriguez, McKinnon, and Makar, the number 1 power play unit. So that's something you want to keep in mind as well going into this game. So there's definitely some good props on the Colorado side. Toronto, right now, I don't think you want to overcomplicate it with the Toronto props, although I will say this tonight, Sheldon Keefe, who is trying to find a left wing fit with Matthews and Marner on the top line. And he's had Kerfoot up there. He's had a couple other players up there, but mostly Kerfoot lately. And Kerfoot's not really producing with this opportunity that he's got on the top line. But he's making changes here tonight. And a guy that has scored 3 goals in the last 5 games for the for the Leafs, I should say, is going to get that chance tonight. 3 goals in the last 5 games. He's going to be moved up to Matthews and Marner on the top line tonight. And that's our old friend. I'm going back to Callie Yarncroke. He is playing on the top line tonight with Matthews and Marner, and plus 450 at FanDuel to score a goal tonight. So I guarantee you, look, he's scored 3 of the last 5 games. It's not a bad roll of the dice right there. And look, Kerfoot didn't really give them a whole lot offensively in his time with Matthews and Marner, but that doesn't mean Callie Yarncroke can't chip in here and produce, playing with the double M&M, as I like to call them, on the top line. So that's definitely a prop worth looking at in this game. If you're looking at players on streaks right now, a point streak of 4 games for Rantanen. But never mind that. The Rantanen point prop is no value. You're paying minus 200 at least for that. What you want to look at with Rantanen is the power play point prop, because he's also on a 4-game power play point streak. So why lay minus 200 on just the point prop? The power play point prop for Rantanen is plus 160, and he's on a 4-game power play point streak for the Avalanche going into tonight's game. Why not put a few bucks on that? Makes some sense to me. Makar's on a 5-game point streak, but again, you're not going to get the value to bet it standalone. You got to put it in an SGP. McKinnon is on a 5-game goal scoring streak. Like, this guy's just scoring every single game. I think that's 10 of the last 11 games, Alex, that Nathan McKinnon has found the back of the net. And tonight in this game, McKinnon is plus 110 to score. Like, I would think by now they'd have him as a minus 120 or a minus 140.
At least.
At least. I mean, 10 of the last 11 he scored. 5 straight games with a goal. He's still plus money, plus 110 for him to score a goal tonight. So I'll be backing that as well. It's a really, really good prop game. I could go even further. Big Val has points in 8 of the last 10 games for the Colorado Avalanche. Nichushkin, his point prop's only minus 130. So this is definitely a prop smorgasbord, a prop buffet for yours truly in this, and a great bargain bin options too. Malgin to score, Yarncroke to score. Really, really good. Rodriguez even on the top line is a great price to find the back of the net. So it's a great prop game. Alex, what do you think here? Avs, Leafs.
Yes, plenty of profitable props to pop in on. But but I think this is a great prop game because I like the over here at 6.5. And I believe that, if Colorado was a little bit healthier, this total would have opened at 7. Because, I mean, you have these two teams, especially when you're seeing, the Avs, the way they come off of those games where they get 8 goals, we tend to see them, it's very streaky with their scoring. Just like we saw them, a couple weeks ago, back-to-back games giving up 7 goals, and all of a sudden they could easily give you 5, 6, 7 goals in a 3-game burst, 4-game burst constantly. And you look at Toronto, like I said, this would be a big game for them. We don't talk about the angle often enough, especially now, because it's like, well, who cares? The playoffs are in a month. But I'm sure Toronto, getting in the form and playing against a team that did win the Stanley Cup, that's, always going to be some kind of a little bit of an extra boost. You just want to get a win. It just looks better. It feels better to beat the team that did win the Stanley Cup, especially when you're Toronto trying to, and hopefully for their sake and their fans' sake, the longest cup drought in the league. So, those little things I think matter to the team, certainly matter to the fans. I think there'll be a bit jazzed up of an atmosphere. We know Toronto can be kind of a mausoleum at times. I think there'll be some energy there. It's a TNT game. I like goals here. I like the over.
Yeah, I would lean that way too, over 6.5 a little bit in this one. That's it's certainly talent-wise, there's and obviously with the ability these teams have to put the puck in the net, you could very well see goals in this one. And yeah, this is the first of the TNT doubleheader tonight, so that's a good choice, obviously, for the first game of the doubleheader, having these two teams go at it with all the great star power they both have. So yeah, I would lean to that over. The only thing I'm hesitant on is both teams are off these wild, crazy games, and neither team, was happy with their defensive effort. And Georgiev and Samsonov are in good form, but I still would lean over for sure at that 6.5 here. And it is, Georgiev and Samsonov, the goaltenders here. So battle of Russians here in the net tonight for their respective teams. And
Georgiev is Bulgarian.
Or Bulgarian,
right. I always make that mistake too.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. You're right. That's a good. You're right. I've said that multiple times. He's Russian. He's not. He's Bulgarian. Samsonov definitely is, but you're right. Alexander Georgiev is Bulgarian. Yes, that is true. Should be a great game. Looking forward to that one. All right, great stuff. We got the 2 games remaining still to come. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. We're back to talk about the 2 remaining games, the second TNT game, Minnesota-St. Louis, as well as the Islanders and the Ducks. We'll talk about those 2 games coming right up, right after we hear from Gramco.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Gramco. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, court, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 THC products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable, legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. Gramco is also available at many American retailers as well. You can get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. And if you visit www.thegramco.com. Use promo code Ice Guys. You will get 20% off of every order, and any order that's on the site over $50 will be shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
Yeah, a couple more things. Matthews, 3-game goal streak. Maybe ride that. We know he's a streaky guy. It's a TNT game, and it's going to be back home in Arizona. So yeah, Matthews to get on the scoreboard. Again, you're not the price ain't great, obviously, but you're talking about 3 games in a row. He's scored a goal, and we know he's a streaky bastard when it comes to scoring goals. So definitely keep that in mind with the Matthews goal prop tonight in this game. Also, in terms of a couple more, Marner points and assists, 3-game streak. Again, pretty pricey, both of those. So you're going to have to put them in a prop or a same-game parlay of some kind. And also another power play point streak for Nathan MacKinnon. We talked about the one that Rantanen was on, 4-game power play point streak. Nathan MacKinnon on a 3-game power play point prop streak and plus 140 for him to get a power play point tonight in this game. Like I said, it's just one of those games where it's filled with prop availability and options at your disposal. All right, Minnesota, St. Louis. We've got Minnesota minus 140, road favorites here. The sit total at 6, shaded to the under in this one. The Wild, of course, they have been on this road trip now, which continues. It went through Arizona on Sunday. They ended up losing 5-4 in overtime, but this road trip started in Winnipeg. They got a 4-2 win there. They beat San Jose 5-2, their first game without Kaprizov, and then they ended up losing 5-4 to Arizona in overtime. And look, at the end of the day, you evaluate this team without Kirill Kaprizov, and obviously, they're not as good without him, clearly. And the offense takes a little bit of a hit. And does that mean maybe it's going to be a tougher ordeal for this team to score goals and win games consistently? That's going to be something you want to maybe look out for moving forward. The St. Louis Blues, we know it's been a rough go for them since before the trade deadline, all the way back to when they were trading Tarasenko and then O'Reilly and then Barbashev and then many others that have been dealt from this team as they sell off and look toward the future. That being said here, Alex, the last few games, at least for St. Louis, they beat San Jose 4-2, beat Columbus 5-2. Again, those are bad teams going nowhere. But even against Vegas the other night, competitive in defeat, 5-3, and it took a late goal for Vegas to put that game out of reach. And with this road trip dragging on as long as it has, they were out in California. Now they went down to the desert against Arizona. Now back to the Midwest here against St. Louis. I could see this game being a grind for Minnesota, where they win, but it's not easy for them to pull out the victory here. Because the one thing I've seen from the Blues is the players in the lineup are giving effort. They are. It's not that they've totally checked out on this season. There's been effort. There's been, pushback from them. They got down. They gave up multiple goals to Vegas, and they'd respond. So you've definitely seen that here from this Minnesota team. Let's see what they get from Marc-Andre Fleury. He's in net, confirmed tonight, which doesn't surprise me because Gustafsson finally had a bad night against Arizona, although the whole team was not great in front of him either. But Gustafsson finally had a weaker game, and now all of a sudden it'll be Fleury tonight. And Fleury's been better lately. Make no mistake about it. He has definitely had some better performances in net his last few starts. Jordan Binnington will get the call here for St. Louis. And it's not just Kaprizov, by the way. Brodin is, and that's why Minnesota, I think, still could have some issues defensively at times, is Brodin's absence. I know they've held the fort here, but all of a sudden now you've seen, Minnesota, they give up the 4 to Arizona. They've gone over now in 3 straight games. Let's see if that continues. I am very interested in the over here, actually, a little bit at 6. Maybe if it falls to 5.5, which I think it currently might be at a couple of books. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's juicy at ProLine Plus and at FanDuel, but minus 132, minus 138 are the prices with it, but it is 5.5, at those 2 books with the total. So I am definitely looking toward over a little bit here in this game. Minnesota's kind of, I think, realizing that, hey, we got to be able to score a goal. And they've shown they can score goals the last couple without Kaprizov. So I do lean to the over. I do like the draw here in this game. This is definitely a draw bet for me. Minnesota, you still look at the body of work. The last 10 games, half of the games have gone beyond regulation. That's 5 of the last 10 games for the Minnesota Wild have gone beyond regulation, including, of course, the Arizona game. St. Louis, of course, a couple games have gone beyond regulation, their last 10, but the last few they've been competitive. All of that leads to maybe the draw having a chance here tonight, in my opinion, in this game with the Wild and the Blues. So definitely liking the draw here for something. The draw price is plus 332 at Pinnacle, so I do like that price. What I am disappointed about is our guy Jacob Vrana may not play tonight for St. Louis. He suffered a nose injury the other night, or actually at practice, I should say, and may not play tonight against Minnesota here in this game tonight. So that is unfortunate because Vrana props have started to percolate for me. Shots on goal. He's scored in 2 of the last 3 games. He's healthy again. He's getting the opportunity. We know he's an offensively capable player that can score goals, and I've been riding the props the last few with Vrana, but he may be a no-go tonight for the St. Louis Blues. Alex, what do you think here, Minnesota, St. Louis?
I got to give you the old not so fast, my friend, on that draw. This is the first puck line bet I've had all year in a full game. It's on the Minnesota Wild. -1.5. I got plus 175. I actually think this is going to be a game kind of like what we saw in that Minnesota-San Jose game. I think they're going to kind of just bully St. Louis. And this is a St. Louis team that has not been playing good hockey. Like I said, they've been a bit competitive, but 1-5 the last 6 games at home, 1-6 the last 7 against the Central, which is really fascinating because they usually play their division opponents well, especially Minnesota. It's a team that they've kind of dominated over the years. I think the Wild are going to want to wrap this road trip up with a nice win against a team that has really given them fits over the years, getting into playoff positioning, getting ready for what will be a busy weekend of back-to-back day games at home. I like the Wild in this spot by margin, so I laid the 1.5, got plus 175.
All right, liking the Wild to win by margin tonight, -1.5 puck line for the Minnesota Wild. You can get plus 175. At some spots with that puck line. So very good price there indeed. As far as the other props that I'm looking at, Ryan Hartman over shots, and probably a point prop too for Ryan Hartman. Definitely I'm interested in both of those. Jordan Kyrou, I think, realizing, hey, I got to be one of our offensive difference makers. So what does that mean? It means I got to shoot the puck more. Well, now he's gone over his shots prop in 4 straight games. So I like Jordan Kyrou. Over shots on goal tonight for the St. Louis Blues, especially if Vrana doesn't go. That's going to have to make him be even more of a focal point offensively, shoot that puck even more. Robert Thomas for St. Louis. He's someone that, has to be an impact force for the Blues moving forward. He's now considered one of the veterans on this team. He's on a 5-game point streak and -144 to get a point tonight. So I don't mind that look either because we are talking about a guy that's on a 5-game point scoring streak right now for the St. Louis Blues. So definitely there's the props that I'm focusing on. Not as many in this game, but a few props that I do like here in this Wild and Blues game. Keep in mind the Wild, like I said, it's not just Kaprizov. It's Jonas Brodin. It's Marcus Foligno, who's out for the Wild, and Brandon Duhaime as well. So they've got a few guys that are out of the lineup right now for the Wild. We'll see if they can overcome that, take care of the Blues tonight. Here. This is the second game, of course, of the TNT doubleheader tonight. All right, last game, New York Islanders, Anaheim Ducks. Islanders -190, road favorites. 5.5 being the total here in this matchup. The Islanders, a tough loss last night to the Kings, 5-2. Their second straight loss. We'll see if they can get back in the saddle here, back-to-back on the road for them here in Anaheim. But they don't have that bad of a back-to-back record here, 7-5. For the New York Islanders here on the second night of back-to-back games. We'll see if they can win this one tonight. Anaheim, the last few games has been a little bit better. Actually, the last 9 games, they're a solid 5-4, and the losses were very competitive. 3-2 overtime loss to Washington. They had a 5-2 loss to Seattle, 3-2 overtime loss to Vancouver, 5-4 overtime loss to Nashville, in a game where they came back from a 4-2 deficit with 2 late goals to force OT. This team, by the way, that's overtime or shootout in 3 of their last 6 games. So could this be a draw potential? Potentially with the Islanders and the Ducks. But I do think the Islanders find a way here. This is probably one where I'm going to do the late season Ian Cameron money management breakup of this game, or breakdown in terms of how I'm going to sequence it. A little bit more on the Islanders, say half a unit on Islanders and reg. If that wins, profitable for the game. A little bit, maybe a quarter unit on the draw in this game. And if that hits, that's going to usurp whatever I lose on Islanders in regulation based on the price you're getting. So that's my approach. Basically, it's going to be a half unit Islanders in regulation. It's going to be a quarter unit on the draw. If the regulation bet hits, profit. If the draw hits at the smaller amount, still profit because it's going to overcome what I lose in the with the regulation bet. So that's the approach for me here. Alex, what do you think? Islanders, Ducks.
That's an excellent approach. Excellent approach. I like both of those plays, and I think that unit designation is perfect too for a light card like this. And it's funny. Somebody in the chat was saying earlier about take the night off. That's really not always a bad idea, but be a little like I said. Have play, and you're still guaranteeing yourself at least profit on one end or another. And it's back with the spot of where the Islanders should really put up as many goals as they possibly can on Anaheim. This is not a team that we know to just blow people out of the water, but I think they need that at some point for themselves. They're in this race, and every game's just super tight, and the standings watching literally every night now at this point. But just give yourself a good effort on the ice, and don't put the stress on yourself. Be worried about what Pittsburgh's doing, when you get off the ice. But put the full effort in and beat a bad Anaheim team right now. And I think that's what they need to do. They need to go out and come out hot and heavy. So I'm right there with you. I'm going to go sprinkle a quarter unit on the draw and go half unit on Isles and Red.
Exactly. I think from a money management perspective, it's the perfect way to go about this. Make no mistake about it, because if you look, and I'm doing the math in my head right now with this, I'm just looking at it right now with the how it would play out here in this. Let me see here. 1.77. Yep. And so we're looking at. Just do there we go. So I'm looking at it right now. The regulation hits. You put half a unit on it. It's going to be 0.5 units. You'll win on that. You'll lose on the draw, but you'll be plus 0.25 units. The other way around, you lose on the Islanders in regulation. That'll be a loss of about 0.575 units. But the draw hits, you'll win 0.885 units. You'll be profitable. So there you go. You will be profitable if one of these bets win. It's simple as that. Islanders in reg at half unit or draw at quarter unit. The only thing that can beat you and you lose it all is Anaheim in regulation. And do we really see that happening? I think that's the most unlikely outcome by far for this game tonight. So I think it's a solid approach, sound betting and unit management approach, in my opinion.
And listen, I know if people watching and listening that it doesn't sound like a steak and lobster dinner, but it's still food. That's the way you got to kind of approach this thing. That like I said, it's worth of that small designation. And honestly, it's something I like to do with these bigger cards too. Start just cutting down just your units a little bit, even if you're having a great season. But just it wouldn't hurt to conserve some units. We got the playoffs coming up. You're gonna want to bet futures and series prices and moving series prices. So it's just a good thing. I think it's a good rule of thumb for any better, any level, to maybe just sometimes scale back your units at the end of the season. I know I do it in the NFL. I do it a lot in I've done it in the NHL before, but I think this is one of those spots where you'd look to do that. You're still getting yourself some profit, but you're not just hammering out and going 2-3 units deep on a game this time of year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, it's a sound approach. And again, if you keep the units at a lower amount, certainly that's going to be a benefit, to make plays like this. No question. So definitely, like I said, Islanders minus 115 in regulation, half a unit, draw plus 354, by the way, at Pinnacle for that, for a quarter unit. And again, if one of those hits, it's profit. And that's the way definitely we want to go about it. John Gibson, by the way, in net for Anaheim, confirmed. We expect Varlamov on the back-to-back because it was Ilya Sorokin in L.A. last night. So pretty much can expect it to be Semyon Varlamov here tonight in this game. And just quickly on props, this is definitely, of all the games tonight, this is one where I'm not going overboard with props. But, I don't mind, even though I like the Islanders in the game, the one guy that you got to consider here on the Anaheim side, at least for a point, is Zegras. It's a modest minus 136. He's been solid in that regard, no question, in terms of being able to produce offensively for them. On the New York Islanders side, I think in a game of this magnitude, you need something to happen. You need Andersley, your captain, to rise up. This would be a game where maybe I could see him getting on the score sheet. So Andersley for the Islanders would pique my interest here in this one. Yeah, Perlo is onto it too. Yeah, always look at the Anaheim saves prop. The Islanders aren't always a team that has that high shot volume, but I think tonight could be one of those nights. And let's not forget the Islanders were able to put up 40 shots against Minnesota, 36 against Detroit, 39 against Buffalo. So that tells you they could get to the high 30s or 40s against the Ducks tonight in terms of shots on goal. And of course, we know the Ducks just yield shots on goal in bunches. Them in Arizona, we've talked about them ad nauseum. So I don't mind at all John Gibson over 31.5 saves tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in theory, but this is one of those things that really kind of, like I said, certain goalies kind of freak me out. Gibson's one of them. Gibson's one of those goalies, if he's not in his right form, the Ducks will pull him. You know what I mean? It's not like a Craig Anderson situation where Anderson had yet to be pulled, even though he's had some rough games or some other goalies of note. So that's the one thing that kind of scares me about his props is that, he gives up 2 goals on 5 shots. He may not be back in the second period,
Yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. And that's what happened to me with the Jake Allen props for Montreal Monday night against Colorado. I mean, it got pulled. I don't think he would have gotten to his over saves prop anyway, because even if he doesn't get pulled, he gave up so many goals. The saves prop he was not racking up the saves because too many fucking pucks were going in.
He gave up 4 goals and had 3 saves, right?
Yeah. He had 4 goals against the saves at one point. Yeah.
Never
that game for the Montreal Canadiens in net against Colorado. So it's always the risk you run. It's that he's not good enough, and he's going to give up so many goals that his save number isn't going to go up. And the other concern is, of course, he gets yanked for not playing well. So,
and here's the thing too, betting theory, and we talk about these save props, and this is, I might actually kind of dive into this a little bit more when we head into the postseason. Looking at goaltenders that do, and you don't see goalies get pulled too often in the playoffs. So this may actually be more useful for the next regular season. But those under props, when you feel a team might get bum rushed, they've got a bunch of injuries on the blue line, cluster injuries, and maybe a goalie who's coming back from injury or is in bad form. Maybe that's when you start looking at the unders and trying to grab, I guess you're basically trying to make a bet on saying that the guy's going to get pulled. So it's not the best of value, but there may be some situations to look for those unders if you think a guy may not be, giving his best effort or the defense in front of him is going to probably hang him out to dry. So.
Yeah, it's great, and it's never a bad thing on this show to take some time and talk betting strategy. We always talk picks, and we always talk opinions, and we always talk about what you should bet, but we don't talk about the philosophy and the strategy all the time behind the thinking, behind the logic, behind the rationale for the bets. And definitely strategy has to come, especially come playoff time. I know when the limited amount of games, scoring might drop a little bit because of, to block shots. Everybody wants to block shots now, and defensive aptitude goes up, and 5-on-5 offense can dry up a little bit in the playoffs. Definitely, you've got to have a game script and a game plan in your mind for a particular playoff game. How's this going to unfold? Will it be a slow start? Will it be a fast start? Will a player that maybe got benched the last game is now getting another chance? Will he rise up from a prop standpoint? Does that make him a bet on prop player in that particular playoff game? There's going to be so many little strategies and nuances of Stanley Cup playoff hockey that I know I can't wait to discuss and dissect next month once we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs here on this show.
Absolutely. And one of the things, I'll apologize in advance because you probably hear me say this word 100 times. Storyboard. Looking at a game and a playoff series from a storyboard perspective, period by period and game by game. And that's the way to really kind of break down a lot of different things and seeing how the momentum shifts, because you can see momentum easily carry over from how a game ends into the beginning of that next game. So those are some of the little nuances that make playoff hockey so great. And those are things that we'll be talking about in the months ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what, the countdown is on. I mean, we are talking about literally 4 weeks away from the Stanley. Well, 4 weeks away from the end of the regular season, and then it's the week after that when the playoffs start. They've officially made it. They made it official earlier today. The NHL, Monday, April 17th, is the first day of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is kind of what I expected, because the regular season ends the Friday March the 14th before that. So I figured they're not going to start it Saturday, Sunday. They'll probably start it on the Monday. That's exactly what they're doing. So no surprise here.
Wonderful. Some days off.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have, actually, we will have a playoff preview show that week.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, one of those 2 days. Yeah,
we'll do one. It'll probably be on the Saturday, but again, that's all to be determined. And we're trying to work it out. So we've got a marquee guest joining us too for the playoff preview show this year. So that's the good news, and we're going to try to work it around their schedule. So, but it will be that weekend for sure when we do the big Ice Guys Stanley Cup playoff preview show. Looking forward to that. All right, hit the like button. 182 live viewers on YouTube. We appreciate it very much. Shout out to everybody joining us. We appreciate it again. And check out patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. We've got, of course, goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, the daily Ice Guys show betting card, daily bonus content, and much more to come as well with that. Check it out, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.spreadshop.com. Some of you commented about the hoodie. This is the hoodie, only $50. Which is a great price because people are charging way too much for hoodies these days. But we aren't. So come check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All
right, absolutely. Good stuff indeed. Make sure you check that out. Great merch. I've got the great Ice Guys hoodie rocking. Of course, many times on the show, thanks to that store. So check out the store, get some merch. It's quality stuff. Hopefully quality stuff on tap with best bets to wrap up the show in just a moment for this Wednesday card right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS. That's promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, it's about 14 million balls that you can preserve. The Performance Package 4.0 is the complete accessory package to take care of everything that is required. You've got, of course, the Lawnmower 4.0. Takes care of your facial hair and among other things. You've got, of course, the Weed Whacker. I'm approaching 40. Nose hair has become a major issue. It pisses the hell out of me. I need to take care of that shit, and the Weed Whacker can help you do that. Both of these products, waterproof and a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave. And you'll also be able to take care of those delicate areas with the ball toner, with the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good, looking good, and feeling good down in the nether regions. This complete Performance Package 4.0 will take care of everything for you, for all you guys out there, and it's courtesy of our good friends at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use promo code ICEGUYS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, we're back and ready for best bets. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's go with some late night TNT action. Minnesota Wild on the puck line, laying the 1.5 plus 175. I expect a good effort from them tonight. Like I said, they've been living dangerously for weeks. I think they put the screws to St. Louis. Everybody knows St. Louis blows. Let's go with the Minnesota Wild. Minus 1.5 plus 175. That's my best bet.
All right, there you go. Liking that. The Minnesota Wild, minus 1.5 plus 175 puck line against St. Louis. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. My best bet, Buffalo. We're going with the Sabres here, minus 105 against Washington. I like them to get the job done here in this spot. Washington maybe with no Ovechkin again. Back-to-back record, 1-7 this year. The Capitals on the second night of back-to-back games. Buffalo with a little momentum after a losing streak, snapping victory against Toronto. I think they roll that momentum into tonight and pick up a second straight dub. Buffalo, minus 105. Best bet for me for this Wednesday card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday. A big Thursday slate on tap. Join us for it right here on the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now.